So at this point in the semester, we're going to transition you from recording your data in your typed report, which is actually the wrong way to do it, to recording your data by hand in a lab notebook, which is how real scientists do it, and there's a good reason for that. So the first part of this video will cover how to write your data in a notebook, and the second half will cover why we want to do this. So what you record in your notebook is going to be easy for you because you've been recording all this stuff in your typed reports all this semester. So first of all, you find a notebook to write your data in. This is so that you can't lose a page of it, like you could if you were writing on loose leaf paper. And then you'd start on the top of a new page for a new experiment, and you'd want to write down the identifying information. So that would just be the title of the experiment, the date, and your name. Next, you would want to record the objective. And this is exactly like what's in your typed report. If the lab manual has an objective, you can copy it in there. If not, you would write a few sentences saying what you're trying to accomplish in that experiment. Next, you want to put your apparatus procedure section. And again, just like in the typed report, you don't need to copy that all in from the lab manual. Instead, you're just going to refer to the lab manual by name and say what experiment you're doing. So again, all of this is identical to what you've been putting in your typed reports all along. The next thing you'd want to record would be your data, and this is also going to be very similar to what you're used to. You start by including the label for the data, its symbol, your value, its uncertainty, and the units. And somewhere nearby, you explain your uncertainty choices in full detail. If you're going to be doing related or repeated trials, you put your data in a table, where the label, the symbol, and the units can go in the table heading, and the uncertainty can go in the heading also, if it's the same for every data value. But you can also put the uncertainties alongside the data, in those cases where they're different for every value. And again, you want to write a detailed explanation for all your uncertainty choices nearby. And that's all that needs to go in your lab notebook. So now let's talk about why we should have been writing our data in a notebook all along. A scientist's notebook is meant to be a permanent record of all of their results, including corrections, rough work, and false starts. And that's the problem with recording data in an electronic form, like we've been doing so far. Because if you correct a piece of data in your typed report, the previous information is just gone. There's nothing to even show that you took a second set of data. In a handwritten notebook, there is a record, because if you need to correct something, you cross it out with a single line so that it can still be read, and you write the correction nearby. And now you have a clear record of both sets of data. The same holds if you want to redo your experiment completely. Don't start over. Instead, cross everything out neatly and record your new results in the next available space in your notebook. So your lab notebook is expected to look a little bit messy because your mistakes and corrections are supposed to be preserved there. So you have a record of everything you did, including things that didn't work out the first time. And because your notebook is supposed to be a permanent record of your work, there's some other things to be aware of. First of all, always write in ink so that it's permanent. Never use whiteout, and never scribble something out to the point where it can't be read. Instead, just cross it out neatly and keep writing. You should always use a notebook, not loose leaf paper, and again, that's so that you can't accidentally lose a page. And you should likewise never tear a page out of your notebook. Again, just cross it out neatly and continue on the next page. If you want to write down some rough work, put that in your book too, just so that all of your work is permanently located in one location. So if you wanted to do some practice trials with your equipment, for example, go ahead and do that in your notebook too, and just label it as rough work. Likewise, if you want to work something out by hand, say you want to work out some uncertainty calculations, make a calculation section in your notebook and do those in your book too. And again, it's just to keep all your work in one place. So that covers how to fill in a lab notebook and why we scientists use notebooks. So the last thing that I'll mention is that when you do your experiment, you start by filling out your lab notebook. So you would only have your lab manual and your lab notebook open. So you do your experiment, write down all your data in your notebook by hand first, and then later, once you have all the data, you put it into Excel, analyze your values, and then finally, you type up your analyzed results in your typed report to present your conclusions to the world.